It's the end of the month, and this month we've been doing the repeatables, and I've been going over my notes of what I've preached in this church for the past 3 years, and I can't find if I ever preached this one. I've actually got a pretty decent calendar of what I've preached, and yet I feel like I have preached this one here. Parts of it seem like, in my mind, I've preached it here, but I don't have a record of preaching it here. Maybe I did it as a substitute sermon. I occasionally will step up here and think the sermon that I've prepared for the week is the wrong one, and so I'll substitute a sermon. And I don't remember preaching this. So if you've heard this before, it's reinforcement. If you haven't heard it before, well, good. Don't fret. I love the word fret. I like it a lot better than I like the word worry. Worry just sounds so pedestrian. Everybody worries. But fret carries this power behind it. Don't fret. I grew up in Oklahoma, which pretty much speaks the same kind of English as Kansas. We say weird things like hay rack rather than just hayride, you know. We say fixin' to when nothing's broken. We have a way of saying things, and fret's one of those words. Don't fret. Fret has this feeling of worry that seems a bit stronger than just your everyday worry. The King James Bible uses the word fret in Psalm 37, and God says in Psalm 37 3 times, don't fret. Don't fret. Don't fret. Man, I hate the Bible sometimes. Because not only is it telling me to do something I don't want to stop doing, because I don't know about you, but when you're in your fretting, when you're in your worry, you kind of like it. You enjoy being in that worry a bit. Otherwise, you'd get out of it as soon as you could. But I don't like the part where it tells me to do things where I don't know how to stop doing it. I've always hated Christians when they say, stop sinning. Fine, show me how. Don't show me one of you guys because I know better. Show me how to stop sinning and I'll do it. Now, the Bible doesn't necessarily agree with the idea of stop sinning. Jesus died on the cross because he knew that you were going to sin. But worry is one of those things that says, don't worry. Jesus says, how can worry help you? And it's like, okay, how do I stop worrying? Anybody here worrying about anything right now? I've talked to a few of you, and I believe a few of you have some worries. Psalm 37 is written by a man who worried, and he fretted, and he gives a prescription that I believe helps us to understand what it means to not worry. Don't be upset, he says, because of sinful people. Don't be jealous of those who do wrong. Have you ever, that seems weird at first. Don't be jealous of people who do wrong. Well, yeah, I don't want to be jealous of, murderers and criminals. But don't you ever feel just a little jealous of people who do wrong? That guy doesn't go to church and he drinks and and look at how nice his house is and how nice his car is and how much better off he's doing than me. Why does God bless him and I'm still not that good off, that well off? And I've dealt with this in the church where a young lady, her business, her situation was not nearly as good as her sister, who was an absolute atheist. Michael, I pray and I go to church and I help the poor and I give, and yet my business is not prospering, and my sister, who curses God and curses Christians, her business is prospering. And God's first question, or first answer to that, is don't be jealous of those who do wrong. In other words, God's saying, you know what, don't compare yourself to them, and realize that what comes around goes around. Things will get taken care of in the end. Don't be upset because of sinful people. That doesn't mean that you're not to be upset at sin. Don't be upset that sinful people are not worrying. Don't be upset that sinful people are doing better than you. Stop comparing yourself to other situations. Now, this can go in many different ways. I'm not blessed, and that guy is. But think about the things that break us, the things that we pray about. And you've heard this before. You didn't like the You didn't like the rutabagas that were on your plate, and Mom said you had to finish the rutabagas, and you said, "Oh, I'm not hungry." And she said something like, "Well, there's children in Africa starving. You should feel blessed." And my answer was always, "Well, put them in an envelope and mail them. I don't want them." But this is an attitude of prayer that we should consider ourselves a part of. I'm dealing with this problem, My neighbor hates me, and he's always putting his grass clippings onto my yard or something. And wow, what a horrible thing. That's something to really get your blood up when there are people in your neighborhood who are going to bed without dinner because they don't have the money. So don't be jealous of people who've done wrong. Don't compare yourself to others. That seems pretty simple. We've heard that all of our life. But really, have we ever changed? Have we stopped comparing ourselves to others? Probably not. Have we stopped being jealous of those who do wrong? Probably not. Many, many times working in retail, working in a job, we have to serve somebody who's privileged and better than us, but yet they treat us like the hired help. And we think, man, I don't need to be treated this way. There's got to be more to stop worrying than that, isn't there? There's got to be more to stopping worrying than just saying, well, other people have it worse off than I do. That's not very comforting, is it? Here I am in the hospital, and I'm losing my glossary. I've already lost my appendix, but now I'm losing my glossary, and the doctor is going to take out the glossary, and I feel pretty bad about myself. And the guy in bed next to me, well, he's had every bone in his body broken. Wow, I'm better off than him. But yet, I'm losing my glossary, and I'm worried about that because it's me. What, the glossary's not a real thing? We worry about our things, even if we don't worry about people that have it worse off than we do. So that doesn't seem like a very good prescription. I think there's more. The word worry here in the Hebrew is kara. And kara has a very specific kind of worrying. I love these languages where they're descriptive. The Eskimos have 7 different words for snow because they've got a lot of it. They got to be more descriptive. Which snow are you talking about? Worry, and if you know Hebrew people, if you know Jewish people, Jewish mothers, they worry. So they've got different words for worry. And the worry word here, kara, means to heat yourself in vexation. There's another great word, vexation. Have you ever been vexed? It's a great old English word we don't use anymore. That man doth vexeth me. It takes a kind of anger that makes the blood boil, to heat oneself. You seen people get red-faced in their angers? You seen the pores start to turn red and get bigger? That's the kind of worry, not anger, worry that it's talking about here. Not the simple worry of, man, I wonder if my paycheck's going to be enough this week. That's a pretty rough worry. This is the worry of, where's my son? He's 8 hours late to come home. And this is the 4th time this week. That is the worry. And that seems like, no. I can understand not worrying about the little things, but God, you're telling me not to worry about these big things? And yeah, don't worry. Don't vex yourself. Vexation produces nothing of value. It turns off the thinking. It turns off the faith. It turns into nothing but a self-centeredness of my situation. To heat yourself means to over... How many of you have a car that works better when it's overheating? Now, I'm not asking, do you have a car that overheats? I'm asking you, does it work better when it overheats? And your answer is probably not. When we overheat, we shut down. We stop working properly. So stop shutting down in your worry. Stop overheating yourself. Stop becoming people that can't think and can't faith and can't function in your worry. So how do I do that? How can I go from worrying to trusting God in every situation? And the first thing he says is in verse 3, trust him. Just trust him. That seems simple, doesn't it? But is it really that simple? Faith is, I heard it, an action based upon a belief and sustained by, it's letter C, confidence. Yes, sustained by confidence. And this is the same thing as trust. An action, meaning here's the person that falls down into their friends. An action based upon a belief. They will catch me because they like me. Followed up by a confidence that, I'm so glad they caught me. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. God is trustworthy. And so I do things. I actually move in such a way. I have actions that trust him. Trust in this Hebrew sense is baqta, and it means to be secure. But it also means to be bold. I remember as a young child walking into situations by myself and feeling like I was going to be cowardly or scared because there was a bully or a situation I didn't want to face or a teacher I didn't like. But suddenly, if I've got my mom there with me or my dad there with me, I have a confidence I didn't have before. Or if you walk into the situations where all the bullies in the schoolyard are there and you're by yourself, it's like, but then you got your, senior in high school best friend with you, and I'm with you. Suddenly there's this confidence. Trusting in the Lord means to know that your bodyguard is with you, that your faith is based upon the one that saves you is right there, and you now have a confidence. Last night at the Halloween party in the park, there were little kids who didn't want to throw the ball for the game that we had until mom or dad was standing right there with their hand on them saying, you can do it. And suddenly they've got all kinds of confidence. When your father is there saying that you can do it, you build a boldness, a security, a confidence that we call trust. And so the first step to not worrying is to trust the Lord. Trust in the Lord and do good. Then you will live in the land and enjoy its food. That's the promise of Psalm 37, verse 3. Trust in the Lord and do good. I put on Facebook this week a saying that says, be bold enough, be brave enough to always do good. You have to think about that statement for a minute, because there are many situations where doing good is the most frightening possible thing you can do. Trust in the Lord and do good, then you will live in the land and enjoy its food. The promise here is not that you're always going to have all the food you want, but you will enjoy the food you've got. It's not that you will always have everything that your heart desires, but everything that your heart has, it desires. Trust in the Lord and do good. Okay, I trust in the Lord, but now what? Well, delight in him. Now, delight is a weird kind of phrase. I delight in things that you don't delight in. I think there's only one other person in the room that really delights in the same thing that I delight in 1967 Star Trek. I just delight in it. I really do. I've seen every episode dozens of times. Sandy has teased me how the first moment of the show can come on TV, and within seconds I'm saying, oh, this is the episode where, and tell her the whole plot. She says, why are we watching this? Delight. But yet you don't take delight in that. Some of you take delight in this weird, violent display of manhood called, what was it, the Kansas City Chiefs. I've seen it. I don't get it, because every time I watch it, the plot's different. But how can... No, you mean they always win? Delight in him. How can we talk about delighting in God when not all of us delight in the same things? There are some things we all delight in. There really are. The Hebrew word here is gil, and I love this word gil. I've told you before that in every language there are words that sound like what they are. In English we have the word bang, which is sounding like the action, bang. We take a whip and a child will go crack or whoosh. Those are words that sound like what they do. Quack, bark are all words that sound like what they do. Geel is the word for delight here. And this is when the little child gets the present and goes, Geel! This is the delight that it's talking about. Delight in the Lord. Don't just say, wow, I really like the Lord, but to get excited at his presence, to know that there is absolute joy in him. And you do this while you're worrying. You know, a little kid came up to the table last night, and he's just a little guy, and he's crying, and he's just bawling, and Shelley lifts up the plastic pumpkin full of candy, and all of a sudden the tears stop, and he finds the one he wants, and he picks it up, and he's all happy, and he puts it in his pocket, then he starts crying again. If we can delight in the Lord, the things that we worry about become somewhat dimmer, somewhat less. If we delight in the Lord, we're so busy with that muscle tension of that the muscles in the face are hurting because we're smiling so much, and the worry takes a back seat. It means to rejoice and tremble, both. To be so happy that you're shaking. I'm a very unemotional man. I don't have a lot of emotions. I'm pretty calm and even keel most of the time. Until the day that Sandy and I flew back to America, and I saw my dog for the first time in 4 months. I was just shaking, and he was like, "Hey, what you doing?" It's been a while. No, he was running around too, because we took delight in each other's presence. We shake. It says, "Find your delight in the Lord, then he will give you everything your heart really wants." Get that "really" in there. Don't say give you everything your heart wants, because your heart is a liar. Bible says that. The heart is a liar, deceitful among all things on earth. But yet, when you take your delight in the Lord, the heart can't even lie anymore. And the Lord will give you everything you really want. Have you ever been separated from that person you love? You ever been separated from the person you love for a long time? And you finally see each other and you just say, all I want is you. That's all I want. Delight in the Lord in such a way that all you want is His presence, His love, His forgiveness, His glory, and suddenly the worries of this world all fade away. So delight in Him. And then commit to Him. I'm troubled, frankly, by the fact that people can't commit today. Now, you might immediately think I'm talking about marriage, and in some ways I am. I'm worried about the number of young people I meet who have been living together for 10 years. They plan on living together forever. They say, but, marriage is just too much commitment. Dudes, you've been living together for 2 years. If you don't know commitment by now, you don't know what it means. I mean, you've already settled how to fold the towels and which way the toilet paper roll goes. I mean, come on. You've got commitment. What's the problem? What does it mean to commit? What is the meaning of that word? For most people, it means to give up, to surrender. But it's not just marriage. I'm not picking on marriage today. I'm picking on almost everything. Hey, are you free next week on Tuesday for a meal? Well, I'll let you know. Now, that's a legitimate answer until Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and the meal's 2 hours away. Says, well, can I give you a call around 10 till? Well, why? I'm trying to keep my options open. Maybe something better will come along. Now, no one would actually say that, would they? But yet, so many people, that's what they do. And I'm not picking on the young here. I'm picking on anybody breathing. Today, there seems to be an attitude, because there's so many things going on, I've got to stay open. I've got to stay available to all these different things that are going on. Now, I'm not talking about emergencies. I'm not talking about being on call. I'm just talking about the whole idea of, I don't want to commit, because commitment enslaves me to something, and I'm not a slave. So what do you mean commit? Well, what I mean is give up. The word commit here in Hebrew is galal, and it has a very, very specific meaning. It has to do with camel trains. It has to do with the idea that when you are carrying a load, so let's say you've got that big 50-pound bag of grain, and you're going up to the camel to put it onto the camel's back. You have a load. It's a heavy load, and you don't want to carry it from Jerusalem to Damascus. It's a long way, and you can't do it. The camel can do it. The camel was built to do that. And so the camel gets down on his knees, and he gets down low so that where his hump is about chest level with you. And you take this 50-pound bag of grain, and you walk up to the camel, and you bend over, and you let gravity take hold of that bag, and you galal onto the camel. That's what the word means, literally, is to roll over a burden onto the back of a camel. And God says, galal to me. Take what you are carrying and commit it to me. In other words, give it up. Let me carry it. You don't need to carry this. Jesus said something along the lines of, come to me for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Meaning everybody's got a burden, but I've created a way in which it can be carried and it becomes comfortable and lighter. We need to roll over our burdens onto God. And so many of us can't do that because we hold on to the burden. Remember earlier when I was saying some of us like our worry, I saw 5 different people say, no. It's not that you like your worry as much as you like your burden. It's mine. I want to hold on to it. I want to be in control of it. I want to have every aspect of it be my knowledge base and my will. And God is saying, give it up. I suffer from a certain lack of time management problem. Not church related, not business related, hobby related. I got so many hobbies, I neglect one to do the other, and some of my hobbies sit there untouched for weeks at a time because I get into one and I get halfway through it, and then another one interests me. And the burden of those hobbies sometimes is big. There's costs, there's supplies, there's storage. How many of you have to have extra storage just for your hobbies? Yeah. Do you realize that your worry is because of burdens that you are carrying, that you've built extra storage for? Storage in your heart and storage in your mind. You want other people to share your worry. You want them to worry with you. And God's saying, man, just roll that over on to me and walk away. Commit your life to the Lord. Here is what he will do if you trust in him. It's what it says in verse 5. Commit your life unto the Lord. Here is what he'll do if you trust in him. I'm not going to tell you. You got to read it. Go to Psalm 37 later and find out here's what he'll do. Guess what? It's all good stuff. It's all blessings. It's all happiness. Roll your burden onto him and he will take care of you. And then wait. How many of you love waiting? Oh man, we are in a culture now, everything is instant, right? We can drive up to McDonald's and go to the drive-thru, and the drive-thru just wasn't fast enough, so they added a second window where I can pay in one and pick up in the other. Isn't that great? So we can just speed up the whole process. We don't wait for anything, do we? We love to be able to just turn on the TV and go to the different channels, and if the Cox cable is just a little slow, man, we get mad, don't we? Why isn't this channel changing? If the internet's slow and we can't get our mail quickly, oh my good, we don't think that maybe set it down, go do something else, come back, let it load. No, we don't want to wait. I was on an airplane once where they said, and this was a few years ago, they said, we've got an experiment going on. We've got Wi-Fi for the first time in an airplane. So those of you with computers, that are Wi-Fi capable, go ahead and check your email. We're about 10 minutes into the flight where the Wi-Fi has been turned on, and all of a sudden, I can see people, they're upset, and the lady gets on there and she says, I'm sorry, but we've had a technical glitch because we're just testing it, and we're not going to have it for the rest of the flight. And this man puts away his laptop so angry, says, this is a jip. I'm going to ask for a refund. Dude, when you got on the plane, you didn't even know there was going to be Wi-Fi. We don't like to wait, and God's answer to us is, wait? But we've never liked to wait. When we're young, we think we should be older. When we're older, we think we should be adults. When we're adults, we think we should be more respected. When we get more respected, we say, oh, I wish I was younger. We don't like to wait for a thing. The Greek word, or the Hebrew word here is oreb kuhul, which means the hiding place in suffering. How many of you had an old dog? A loved, cherished old dog that's about ready to die. What do? They go hide. They find some place to nest and hide because this is the end. I'm done for. And many of us, we kind of feel like that the end is near. We just want to hide. And here God is giving you permission. Go hide. In other words, there's a time in our lives where we just need to just be calm. Suffer in calmness. You see, we get a picture here of what he means by don't worry. He's not saying to literally take away the emotion. You're not going to do that. But we need to control how we worry. Wait. Be silent. Listen. Something is coming. Maybe salvation is coming. Maybe God's taking time to work it out. If you would just wait, things will be different. Be still, it says, and wait patiently for the Lord to act. First Christmas in heaven, I'm going to buy God a Rolex. Not because it's a good, expensive watch, because I think he needs one. He's never on time with my way of looking at things. I'm going to get him a day planner. This right here was the day I needed you to answer that prayer. He says, no, this other day was the day I needed to answer your prayer. No, I wanted you to answer it on this day. I had plans on that other day. Waiting on God, oh my gosh, He is the sloth at the DMV. Do you know what I mean? How many of you had to stand in line at the DMV and just wait and wait? That's God right there. Never on my time, never like an errand boy. He's the guy that says, it'll be done when I tell you it's done. I'll call you, Michael, shut up. Wait. Do you know why you have to wait? Because quality takes time, and God doesn't make halfway things. Or, this mess that you're in took a long time to get messed up. It's going to take some time to smooth out. But wait. As we've heard before from a couple of weeks ago, that if you wait a little bit, maybe God is working within your troubles to make something even better than you can imagine. But wait. And silence your anger. You see, the longer we're forced to wait, the angrier we get. You ever been in a fast food place when somebody's standing back there with his ticket and he's been waiting a while, and he's especially seen a couple of other orders go out before his? Like, finally it's like, hey, you've served 6 people that came in after me and I'm still waiting. It'll be just a minute, sir. Your order of fresh avocado on your Big Mac is just not something we have in the store, and somebody had to run out and get it. Well, you're not serving another person until you serve me. And we get angry when we have to wait. And we get angry when we have to worry. And we get angrier and angrier as the time goes on because we haven't, remember, waited. We haven't tried to cool off. And as we've gotten warmer and warmer, the anger is built up. We've got to silence that anger. Verse 7, uses the word anger for af. The Hebrew word is af, and this is one of my favorite descriptive words for af. It literally means something you've all seen. Maybe your dad, maybe a friend at work. They'd get so angry, they'd get so frustrated that you'd see their nostrils flare out. You ever seen that? This word literally means flaring of the nostrils. Silence your nostrils is what it's saying. Silence your nostrils. Any of you ever had a cat or a dog or a child who, when they get angry, just... And it's not even just the flaring of the nostrils, it's that nose, that... Silence that. Silence your anger. Anger is a mind killer. It just absolutely stops all rational thought. If you don't believe that, just watch that channel that shows us Congress all day. Anger just silences all rational thought. And faith requires rational, conscious thought. Don't flare your nostrils. Turn away from anger. Don't give in to wrath. Don't be upset, because that only leads to evil. And now, wait a minute. Didn't Jesus get angry and make a whip out of ropes and drive people out of the temple? Yes. I'm going to submit to you that, first of all, that was not flared nostrils. That was righteous anger that comes from thought about what God's temple is supposed to be and what's going to change. You can get angry without sinning. Truly, you can. The problem is that when the nostrils start to flare and the blood starts to boil, that anger turns into evil and goes far beyond what it was meant to. There is a huge difference than taking your child's behind and applying a couple of swats to it and leaving marks. Sometimes it's a fine line, but you know that there's a line. There's a huge line between telling your best friend you're an idiot and telling him words that you can never bring back. There's a fine line between telling your parents that you're angry at them and telling them you'll never speak to them again. And there is a fine line between telling God you are so confused and so upset at him and you don't understand faith and you don't understand what he's doing, and being so angry that you walk away from him. Turn away from anger. Don't give in to wrath. Don't be upset, because that only leads to evil. One time in my life, I had the flared nostrils. I was angry at a bank in Oklahoma City, and I was so angry I said all kinds of things to the poor teller and walked out of the building. Got out to my car, and I realized that, well, now I can't access my money at all. So I had to eat crow and walk back inside and say to her, "Ma'am," and she started tensing, and I could see it coming. I said, "Ma'am, I was wrong." And you could just see all of the color come out of her face and say, "Well, I'm glad you said that." And suddenly we had a very rational conversation, and we solved the problem. Wrath leads to evil. What does that have to do with worry? As we worry, we become angry. And as we are angry, it leads to wrath, and wrath leads to evil. This is the formula. Don't be upset. Don't worry. Don't fret. How? Trust him. Trust him to save you. Delight in everything that he's done and promises that he will do. And then commit yourself to him. Roll your burden onto him and say, "Okay, I trust you. I will walk in that way." And then wait. Don't say, "Well, it hasn't happened yet." Wait. And then silence your anger as you wait, so that you can hear him and you can see the solution. So many times in our worry and anger, the solution has come and we're still arguing and we're still angry, because the emotions take a while to bring down the boil. But in silence, we can hear his answer, and we can know when he has answered. So don't worry. Yeah, you're going to worry, I know. But don't be vexed. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for what you have done and what you will do and what you've promised to do. Help us to understand, to have faith and trust in those promises, to know that today is today and tomorrow is something new and different. Help us to trust that you will bring the new and different in Jesus' name. Amen.